All right. So what is transmission? In Sanskrit, the transmission is known as pranahuti. Prana ahuti. Two words. Prana means life force. Ahuti means it is offered. So everything in this in a yogic way, it's all about offering. So when something is offered, it is all up to the person who is receiving to accept that offering. And when do we accept any offering is, if there is a need within. And that need, so what is the need here? I mean, that is something we need to understand. I've been saying about need so many times. What is the need here? So if you see in our lives, right, there is always a certain element, there's certain something is unfulfilled. Whenever that need kicks in, we are always looking to fulfill it without our knowledge. The need is there, but we are trying to fulfill it in different ways. It's like this, when I'm thirsty, if I take Coke, will it quench my thirst? Momentarily, yes. But in fact, the Coke makes us more thirsty afterwards. So, what quenches our thirst? I say a cup of water quenches our thirst immediately, almost instantly. Until we are thirsty again, we are not thinking about the water. So, for the need, the right thing will quench that need. So, what happens when that need is not fulfilled? Suppose no water found. What happens? My system goes out of balance and is always it's then it is ready to drink anything which comes its way, assuming it will quench the thirst. Similarly, the spiritual need make us look into this world and trying to fulfill that need in many ways through earning, through music, through other passions, literature, reading, sports. You can imagine so many things. We as human beings are doing only to fulfill this inner need. But still, there is certain imbalance. Oh, I'm not at peace. My mind is rattling all the time. We hear all these complaints. Reason that complete fulfillment is not coming because, instead of water, we are giving Coke. You're not providing the right thing. So, this transmission, the first stroke of transmission, it it creates such a balance in us we cannot even imagine. In fact, the meditation without transmission is blah. I mean, there's no real essence in that meditation. Daji calls it like a placebo. They give the pills without any medicine in it just to test, right? So that's why transmission is that nourishment to that our inner essence. It kind of creates that need in us. And another thing, Chariji used to say transmission is food to the soul. There is an experiment. I think I'm not sure if it is China or somewhere in the Middle East. One of the king wants to know what will happen if there is no language is learned by a person. If the person doesn't know any language, doesn't know how to speak. So what he did, he took a newborn child and he instructed the nurses feed the food, but don't interact with that child, infant. No one is supposed to interact. No one is supposed to say anything in front of the child. He wants to see what happens. And he did that experiment, one after the another child, almost like with 4 or 5 children. And he was not successful in his experiment because none of those children lived longer. I mean, they were fed well, they were taken care of by the king, but still they did not live because there was no interaction. See, what it tells us is, see, at a physical level, we need food, nourishment, I mean, vitamins, minerals, whatnot. We need food. But is food alone enough for our sustenance? There is a mental needs. There's a mental appetite which needs to be fulfilled as well. And without this mental appetite being fulfilled properly, my physical existence is also affected. So there is a mental nourishment is required as well. So how does the mental nourishment comes? We know it. I mean, through proper conducting of life, interaction, family support, social support, communal support, and the support comes in many ways. It is seeking that. So last time we learned about the physical body, subtle body, and the causal body. So now so far we are talking only at the physical and subtle body level. What about further deep? What nourishment does it require? So if you observe, the nourishment has to be at the same level. At the physical level, the food is the nourishment, but it also requires some nourishment, mental nourishment, one level up. At the subtle body level also, it is seeking that mental nourishment and one level up from the causal. So what is this nourishment is? Nourishment is always in the form of prana. Sometimes prana is loosely translated as energy or the life force. But what is this life force itself is depending on? Where is this life force coming from? So it is further down. That is why in Sanskrit there is no real translation in English. It says pranasya prana, on which the life force depends on. On that life force depends on. So where does the life force depends on? What does the life force depends on? Something more subtler. That life force which it depends on is known as transmission. So let me play this.
What is very special, or I say unique about Transvaal is the system of transmission, which was rediscovered by our Grandmaster Lalaji Maharaj and given to his son and my master Babuji Maharaj. Lalaji Maharaj said transmission is the utilization of divine energy for the transformation of man. Utilization of divine energy. No less energy can transform us. Energy of light cannot transform us. It can help us. Sound energy cannot transform us. So mantras and the tantras are all useless. You see, light energy cannot. So divyas and all these things, lights, cannot help us. And what other energy? Food energy, it can only affect my body. Poison, it can only affect my body. None of these can affect my spiritual life. Transmission as divine energy is what can move, the inner soul. You see, Babuji used to give an example. Suppose a room is full of smoke. Can you take a, jhadu and beat it out? You can't. If you add some perfume, it will stay. So what do? Open the windows and doors and air cleans it out. So at each level, you have to use something of the same level to clean it out or clean it out. If it is physical dirt, you need a broom. If it is, like air and smoke, you need air to take out smoke. If it is the soul itself, you need soul energy, which is the divine energy. Knowing that the soul is but an amsha or a spark from divinity itself. No, this transmission power was rediscovered by Lalaji as having been something in use generations before Dasharatha. He rediscovered it. And it is now possible for this. The uniqueness of Sajman is that it's able to permit transmission to be used. The second uniqueness is that here there is a guru who is able to train preceptors to do it. In no other place you find this, that a guru has allowed people to do what he has to do. It is an act of faith, enormous faith in other human beings, which also helps us to develop faith in God. That if he could have faith in you and you and you, why not I have faith? See?
So very interesting in a couple of points, the summary from this audio or video. One is, I mean, like I mentioned, it requires at the same level or the higher level to affect us, number one. And number two, this rediscovering the transmission, that means it always existed. And transmission is not something a guru is producing it. Daji gives a very good example. If you turn on the fan, what happens? You feel the air is blown towards you. Correct? Is fan producing the air? Answer is no. Air already exists. All that fan is doing is it is directing that air with certain force towards you so that you feel it. It makes it tangible to us. Right? And the role of the guru is also the same here. He is not creating or producing transmission. The divine essence, energy is all pervading, infinite. It existed before the guru and it will exist after the guru. Right? So what the guru is doing is, it's kind of diverted, it kind of focused, rather invoked from within with the thought or will power of that mind or the guru. And like he said, he trained, what we call so-called the prefects or preceptors in heartfulness. He trained, these preceptors or trainers to do the same work, do the same transmission by applying their own will. So this is not we are not claiming any authority on this transmission, but what it is doing is, what the guru is doing is, he is able to invoke with his willpower. And all that we need to do is accept it. That's all we need to do. There's nothing we can do. All that we can do is we can receive it. Right? So again, thinking of transmission as energy is not completely right. Because whenever we talk about energy, that energy is in a manifested state. When we talk about the soul, the understanding of the soul is never manifested. That is the whole summary of Gita. I mean, if you see in Gita, Lord Krishna says, the soul is never born, it never dies. So it is the essence, the primordial thing for this creation. So it even existed before. and that same essence is all pervading. So here it's a soul is not an individual soul, but when that soul is embodied, like I mentioned in our last session, whenever we say body is an embodiment, a covering around something. So when this embodiment of something or the life is manifested, the soul also became part of, even though it's all pervading, still it became part of it. This embodiment, embodied life. That's why in Sanskrit this is called as Jiva Atma, means embodied soul. So the nourishment we are talking about, this embodied soul, at some level is disconnected because now the mind pull is always outwards. That it which it's attached to is looking outwards. Now it has to go back to its essence. So that's why this whole spiritual development, upliftment, and spirituality we are talking about. If this embodied soul has the ability to connect with its essence and draw this energy or transmission. Energy is a wrong word to use. I would like to use the word essence. So when it draws its essence from its source, then the nourishment happens. When that nourishment, it starts now looking inwards. It's all about the taste, right? Suppose you eat an ice cream. Next time when you want to eat an ice cream, what is that you look for? You want to experience that taste again, correct? Anything we are seeking again and again means my my system sort of uh, understood or gelled with it. It started enjoying coming in contact with it. My physical system is enjoying coming in touch with that ice cream. When I consume it, I like it, correct? Same thing happens, you know, when this transmission is invoked, the essence is invoked from within, the soul immediately enters into a joyful vibratory state. Rather, something which is attached to the soul is also receiving the same vibration, receiving the same joy. And now it says there is something inside happening, it starts looking inwards. So, without transmission, if you see, the spiritual upliftment is not possible at all. We cannot get into that dimension at all. Our mind and our consciousness can never go inside without that, without having that taste. The first stroke of the transmission, this inward journey begins almost instantly, whether we realize it or not. So that's why this transmission is the element of heartfulness practice. And now here comes the guru. So the guru who is allowing this transmission to be, invoked, is able to connect with that essence. He is able to do that, make it possible. That is the role of the guru. So here, believing in guru or accepting guru has really no value in it. Okay, I believe in the guru, so what? Or I don't believe in the guru, so what? It doesn't matter. It's like if the doctor is giving the medicine, I'm taking that medicine not because I believe the doctor. Because I believe it, because I have taken that medicine before and it cured me. So certainly it will cure me again. Right? Same thing here. So we are making an inward journey. In that inward journey, we are connecting with that higher essence which is already within me, has been there. Even before I thought about it, even before I learned about it, even before I heard about it. It is there already. So here, that's why it is a very practice-based system. Belief and acceptance and non-believing and all these are at the very emotional mundane level. We want to go beyond this mundane level. Because we want to know, we want to see it by ourselves, we want to learn it by ourselves. So that's why it's an unmanifested, it's nothing. It exists but does not exist. That's why it's not so tangible for us to feel the transmission. But as the mind and my consciousness becoming accustomed to that subtle states, then it says whenever my shift happens, then I say, oh wow, so the transmission is happening. What I'm experiencing is the effect of transmission, not the transmission itself. That's very important thing to understand. Though we say, okay, experience the transmission, it is not exactly we are experiencing the transmission. The effect of it on our system is what we are feeling. Because transmission is almost synonymous to nothingness. That's a very important thing to understand. Right? So what this transmission is doing, it is the help of transmission is, it's a multifold in many dimensions. It brings the transformation, it brings that change. One is it is making us experience that more subtler state. It is making that more subtler state possible in our meditation. And without that, having the deeper experience, in any meditation, without transmission or with transmission, there is certain depth one reaches, but not that joyful state where everything comes to a stillness, almost no vibration, no movement. And that is possible through transmission in our meditation. And at every state, we become one with it. When we become one with it, we master that state. Once we master that state, we are pushed to the next state, and the next state, and the next state. So as we are moving from one state to another higher levels, the things are becoming more and more subtler. At the lower, there everything is tangible. Our anger is tangible, our emotion is tangible, our happiness is tangible, our joys are tangible. The deep meditation is very much tangible. But as we move into the higher and higher states, it becomes more and more subtle. So we mentally, emotionally, or consciously, we need to adjust to that state as well. And as it is reaching more and more subtler states, it becomes imperative for me to maintain that state, otherwise I lose it very quickly. Like in one of the recent talks, Daji said, after meditation, if you don't observe our inner condition, inner state, and even if you get up and have a sip of water, it changes our condition. Just having a sip of water, even if you get up and turn on the fan, it changes the condition. And most of the people, they are addicted to their phones, and it's an observation made by many, and it's my personal experience too, that whenever we sit in meditation, as soon as the meditation is over, the first thing they look at is their phone, look for some WhatsApp messages or whatnot, some news, who called me. That itself spoils the condition. So we must allow that meditation to sink in after we open our eyes. It's like this, we get into a swimming pool. We are wet, but we don't realize we are wet. When we come out, that is the time we realize we are wet. Correct? Then we look for a towel. So when we come out of the meditation is when we know exactly what happened in meditation, not while we are in meditation. So it is important to give at least 5 to 10 minutes before we indulge into any activity. Even looking at something, having a sip of water or anything will spoil that. So we have to give that time, 10 minutes after meditation. Make a deep observation of what happened. That is very important. But nevertheless, the transmission takes us there in every meditation. Now, one might ask the question, do you need a trainer to transmit? When I'm sitting in my meditation, when I get up in the morning, I do my morning meditation. Do I need the trainer? I'll not answer that question right now, but I'll answer it at the end. So add transmission to your individual spiritual, any practice you're doing, you will experience a quantum shift in our experience from day one. I'll give you an real example. One practicant of heartfulness, she's been doing it for 2 years, and one day there is one like so-called what we call the Swamijis or the religious preachers visiting that town, and she went and attended that session. And she came back to me and said, I felt the same transmission during that session. What is the difference? If I'm feeling it out there, I can feel it anywhere else. I said, yes, you can feel it anywhere else. Then why should I come here for meditation? Our next question. Right? So I told her the reason you felt the transmission is because any pious thoughts enter into our mind, whether it is religious or non-religious or something which connects with our heart, because now we have this idea of transmission now because we have experienced it. When that such a thought is entered into our mind, our hearts open automatically. Now it becomes as the second nature of our heart. Just because you practice this meditation for 2 years, now your heart knows that it can be receptive whenever there is a pious thought comes in, whenever something valuable you see it outside. Almost instantly the transmission flows in. Even if you see a friend whom you like, the heart opens and the transmission flows in. Even if you want to help someone, the transmission flows in. Let's say you're disturbed with something and you want to go back to this meditation. The moment thought of meditation comes, the transmission flows in. You see, because now we are open to this. So here it is not a belief or something. One can see it literally happening in their lives without their knowledge. Just like the story I mentioned, the girl was experiencing transmission in some other congregation. And she was not even doing meditation. Because now my heart is opened. Now my heart became receptive to the transmission. So this receptiveness, the growth of this receptiveness, I call it as spiritual growth. And it is also the receptiveness is growing, and there is also refinement happening at the same time. it is becoming more subtler and subtler and subtler. As the transmission is going higher and higher, it becomes subtler and subtler. And how does the transmission goes higher? Because my consciousness is receiving the transmission from a higher state. So that's why we call it as transmission from a higher state. So as this, my own essence is going higher and higher, the transmission I receive becomes subtler and subtler. More effective. Subtler is more effective. All right. And the another key thing which happens, I'll let you hear from Daji and then we can talk about it. I said 30 minutes, but we are already over 7 minutes.
In Ahmedabad, I had talked about an idea of observing how we all receive transmission. Sometimes we receive transmission as if it is entering from front. Sometimes we receive transmission as if it is descending from above. Sometimes we receive transmission as if it is entering from all around. Observe this. At least three things can be observed how we are able to receive this transmission. Is it frontal or from above, or is it 360 degrees? And sometimes it oozes from within itself. So try to observe these things. And when you will observe, there will be times when you will be feeling some sort of exchange or some sort of a flow. This flow, like our breathing, keeps changing. When we breathe in, inhalation and exhalation. This is a natural cycle. It has been revealed, grace of our masters. I'm declaring it in public today amongst our abhyasis, that likewise, there is energy exchange. Energy is flowing constantly out of us. There are times, and all of a sudden, it reverses and the energy starts flowing inward. Observe this, you will notice. And there are times when there is both happening at the same time, inflow and outflow of this energy. Now, when you go deeper into this subject, when you become so absorbed inside, trying to perceive things by actually sensitizing yourself so much, you're so focused, it requires extreme focus to perceive such a thing. You can't be flippant with your sadhana. In the morning, what happens? This flow is generally, I'm using the word carefully, generally, inward. During daytime, it will remain inward and sometimes it will go outward also. Please do not confuse this inflow and outflow of energy with transmission or with pranamukti. It is natural cycle, whether you are an abhyasi or not, it happens. As an abhyasi, when we meditate and pray and try to receive transmission, the grace, and at that time, if the flow is also inward, which generally happens before Suryodaya, so the energy inflow which is naturally happening and the transmission that is descending, both are inward. It is like you are swimming with the currents, river currents, water currents. It is not opposing. It is going in sync. Likewise, in the evening, the flow is going outward, and you're also trying to eject certain impressions in the form of smoke and vapor. Then, too, this outflow helps us getting rid of this complexities and impurities through our cleaning process. So there's so much of wisdom behind. But try to understand when these things happen. And when outflow is going on, should I not meditate? So, or should I do cleaning? When it is inflowing, should I stop my meditation and do the cleaning? We should not confuse ourselves. Stick to your program, stick to your practice. If you're able to be sensitive enough to see the inflow and outflow, it is already a big step. When you're able to understand this transmission in 4 different directions, how it comes from, that too also a big step. All these observations helps us appreciating the work of our master so much. It is no longer our journey in darkness. Our journey should be full of awareness. Without this awareness, of course, we all travel together. One enjoys, one drags, and one simply just is so lost in surrender and remembrance. That is also good. So those of you who have the ability to increase this sensitivity, those who are curious, they should prayerfully submit themselves and try to understand various flows that constantly go on inside us. And with that, when we combine our remembrance, in fact, remembrance takes a different shape when we are so observant inside. I think it becomes mutual things. It appeals us, the constant remembrance appeals us at a different level. Because the connection is automatically made when we are trying to observe this inward and outward flow, and with that automatically transmission will crash.
So here something important, we need to understand, realize from this talk is, one is transmission gives us the experience of that essence. Transmission gives us an idea of what that final state we want to achieve. Suppose I never ate ice cream in my life. Would I be saying I want to eat ice cream? No. Anything, if I have not experienced, or if my system is not telling me to experience it, will I seek it? No. So in yoga, we say yoga means merging or oneness with that ultimate state. It's only an information. How much ever times I hear it, I'm never going to get my mind inclined towards it. I might show some interest, but my interest will stop at the level of reading about something. I can read 100 books, 1,000 books about something, about that yoga. But it's still not going to create that real interest, the real need in me, unless I get the taste of it. The transmission gives the taste of it. Without that taste, it is impossible for the mind to accept it and go seek that again and again. So here what happens is, when the transmission is received, when I feel it, when I experience it, that mind experiences that stillness, that depth, it leaves us with the taste at the end of meditation. Not exactly the taste on your taste buds, but it leaves you with that experience, that condition. Now, mentally, by holding on to that condition, I can continue to be in that state all throughout the day. Whenever my mind needs certain diversion, just go back to that state again and again. Right? So, what do? I mean, mentally, now we got used to cell phones. Whenever we need a break, we are looking at our cell phone. My teacher Chareji used to say cell phone is the devil's invention. So whenever we need that break, now it becomes a habit. We have to develop that habit. Go back into that state without even closing your eyes. So this transmission now is enabling us, leading to this what is called constant remembrance. What is constant remembrance? Is nothing but going into that condition again and again and again without having to meditate, just by the thought of it, because we know that experience, we know the taste already. And through this constant remembrance, I'm continuously in that state. My mind get used to that subtle states, and it will seek it more and more and more. As it's seeking more and more and more, the faster we move towards it. So just by meditation, these things are not possible without transmission. So what happens in meditation? What is now we can give a real definition of meditation. The real definition of meditation is where we sit with the idea of receiving. We wait with the idea of receiving. That is meditation. Meditation is not just to calm your mind or calm your system and then feel good about it. So because of the transmission, my definition of meditation is realigned. Now we have to redefine it. So meditation is an act of waiting with the idea of receiving. So we are opening our heart. Right? So let's experience the transmission today. I thought I'll finish it in half an hour, but it's 30 minutes over almost. So we'll try to sit in meditation for 15 minutes, I guess. And then, we can discuss or, share your observations, comments, whatever. So let's start with the relaxation, and the relaxation lead us into meditation. And when I say that's all, meditation is over.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Heartfulness Relaxation and Meditation. I'm going to walk us through a very simple practice of meditation. We'll begin with relaxation for a few minutes, and then I'll guide you into the meditation part. The total meditation time will be 20 minutes. However, if you can only do 5 or 10 minutes, that's fine. So let's get started. Welcome to the Heartfulness Guided Relaxation. Let's start with our feet. Wiggle your toes and let them relax. Make the thought that a current is flowing up from the earth, relaxing your feet, ankles, calves, and knees. Now this healing current is moving into your thighs and hips, softening the muscles and releasing any tension. Relax your waist and lower back. Allow this current to move up into your chest and upper back and shoulders. Every muscle is deeply relaxing. Now this healing current is moving into your arms, forearms, palms, and fingers, carrying away any tension. Bring your awareness to your neck. Allow every muscle to completely relax. This healing current is now moving up into your face, relaxing the jaw and mouth, the nose and eyes. Now feel your body from the toes to the top of your head is completely relaxed. Gently bring your awareness to your heart. Imagine you're resting your thought on the source of light already present in the heart. Feel it's attracting you inwards. If thoughts arise, gently come back to the source of light already present.
That's all. Gently open your eyes. Continue to observe your state. Right? So, any observations, questions, comments? Can you guys hear me? You can unmute yourself and
So, Shrikant, I joined in a little late, so I'm not sure about the whole thing, but I had a general question in regards to, so there is this craving, right? So Gyan, Upasana, and Karma were the three main elements by which you're able to, have that constant remembrance. And then I was also kind of curious to know the role of preceptors, the role of masters, of course, in aid and help of the transmission. But I was trying to figure out the balance that's needed between your own internal craving and, let's say, you sit down individually and meditate, versus the need for being able to do it in terms of preceptors, individual sittings with the master overall, as in when we sit in bandaras. So if you could talk a little bit to that, that'd be great.
So, I mean, that's a good question. So, let me rephrase your question, right? So, what happens when I sit for meditation on my own? What happens when you sit for meditation with the trainer or the master, right? So, when we sit for my
Yeah,
own,
that too. And the other important aspect is if I have the craving versus doing it very mechanically, sitting in a group or sitting for individual.
right? So, like how to bring the dynamism into your meditation, right? So, let's talk about like when I sit for my own meditation, I'm sort of connecting with my own inner essence, and then I meditate. If you observe, Daji's comments about how transmission is coming, you observe it. When I sit for my own meditation, I feel that transmission is invoked from within me. But when I sit with the trainer, now I'm making that external connection. And suddenly you feel the transmission, though it is invoked from within me, because my mental external connection, I feel it's coming from outside of me. Whether you sit with master or whether you sit with the preceptor. But it is all the time is invoking within you. Number one. And when you sit with the preceptor or the master, what's happening is this there is what we discussed about these impressions. There are deeper and deeper impressions, which is in certain way hindering my opening my heart to receive this transmission all the way in. So those hindrances, those obstructions need to be removed. So the role of the guru is to remove those obstructions from within. What we call as a cleaning process. I do my own cleaning every day as a practice. But when a trainer is doing that cleaning, there is a much deeper cleansing happens. That's why we recommend to schedule one-on-one sessions with the trainers so that the deeper cleansing can take place for you. So that's what happens when you sit with the master or a trainer. The deeper cleaning happens. So when the deeper cleaning happens, the transmission and meditation becomes more and more effective. Now the question of craving, how does the craving comes? Only craving is a continuous need, feeling the continuous need. See, if I need water, I crave for water. If I don't get it for a day. And the moment I have a sip of water, will I say I want to have water again? Right now? Can we feel the same way? So that for me to create that continuous need, the continuous craving need only happens if I am able to develop what we call this constant remembrance. What is upasana? You use the word upasana. What is upasana? Upasana is nothing but constant remembrance. Jnana means experience, experiencing that, having the taste of it. How did the taste come to us? Through transmission in meditation, right? With the use of transmission in meditation. And if I'm able to remember that condition, hold on to that condition, what is in Sanskrit is known as upasana, constant remembrance, then I want to go back to that state again and again and again. Though I'm attending to my duties as I should be, though I'm facing all the situations of life as they should be, but yet I'm able to go back to this inner essence again and again because I had the taste of it. I know where to go now. That constantly feeling the need to go back is nothing but craving, right? So the craving happens.
Sure. And sometimes what I've also noticed is that, I would probably be doing nothing, but somehow suddenly there would be this some kind of a feeling that I get in which I, kind of tend to just sit down for a bit in a meditative this thing. So I don't know, again, is that transmission automatically happening and, I'm kind of plugging into that, or is that just something different?
Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you heard that story I was giving, right? The moment heart opens, any pious thought comes, even if you see a person whom you like, right? So if if your daughter or child goes to college or school and comes back home, that joy, that feeling, good feeling itself opens us for to that transmission. Because now we know, now my heart knows. As it opens, the transmission flows in, right? So the transmission is is always there. Whether I am receptive to it or not depends on my mental status. The moment there is a good status happens in my mind, you feel transmission.
Okay, thanks.
Whether it's a good song, even listening to a good song, now we can receive transmission.
Shirik, I have a question. I mean, since we believe that when we sit with master or with preceptor, deeper impressions are removed, and now with the Heartfulness app that we can almost find the preceptor at any time, why don't we just use a trainer for our morning meditation instead of sitting on our own? Can we do that, or?
So yeah, I mean that's a good question. So see that there is certain that role which the trainer is playing. So when that cleansing happened, right, in let's say I took my session today, and there's a deeper transmission is also happening as part of this session. Now my individual meditation sessions and cleansing sessions, all that I do after my sitting is a process of digesting what is given to me. The digestion, I have to do it myself. So when I sit for my morning meditation and continuously I'm doing the practice until my next session, I'm digesting what I received as part of transmission. I must absorb it. I must become one with it before I'm ready for the next dose. But these doses are continuously happening as my absorption capacity is increasing. For me to improve that absorption capacity, I need to do my own practice. And preceptor's role, I mean, they are willfully, mentally, deliberately. When I give a sitting to someone, I'm putting all the will to do the cleaning. Whether the abhyasi is receptive to it or not, or whether the practicant is believing it or not, that cleansing is happening because the willpower is applied. Yeah. So if you, I mean, if my voice is breaking, please ask me to repeat. Yeah. So I believe there is some disturbance in my internet connection. So yeah, so this is the way it works is I need to do my own practice. I still need to get my sessions, and then I need to absorb what is given to me. I need to exercise myself. So all is required. My own exercise, my own meditation is required. Regular training sessions with the prefects are required, on whether it's on the WhatsApp or you can schedule it one-on-one like this Zoom session now that we are in a lockdown mode. Or if the trainer is close to you, you can go to the trainer's place and have a session, right?
And it doesn't I mean, since the transmission comes from the source,
Yes.
does it really matter that the preceptor you're getting the sitting with? I mean, does it really matter, like, who the preceptor is?
It doesn't matter really. It really doesn't matter. See, that's why the transmission is not from one point to another point. Through will, it is invoked from within. Though the transmission by definition, right, it is always from point A to point B or point X to point Y. It has to travel, but here there is no traveling. So that's why it really doesn't matter. I don't even have to know the person to whom I'm transmitting, because here the connection is happening at a much higher state. The will is enough, you can transmit. So you can transmit to the entire globe with one single thought. You don't have to know any person or anything. And the same way you can receive it.
I had a couple of questions, but I'll wait until.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So first question was around, so this topic right now is, it doesn't matter regardless of who the preceptor is. Is it then, so then is it a misconception on my part that the preceptor that I do know, she or he knows where I stand in my progress, and therefore he or she will be able to quickly take me further? So now I'm hearing that's not true, because it's not a point A to point B. So I guess my question is, does it help? I guess same question that he had, but this notion that I had, if you can clarify a little bit, that's first question. Should I wait for your response to this one and then ask the next one?
So the progress happens when I am in completeness at that level. Once I reach that completeness, then the system automatically pushes you to the next level, because you're already getting the glimpse of the next level. It's like you're traveling on the road,
then,
right? So let's say you have a 200-mile trip, and you are looking at the exit numbers. As each exit number is passing, you know what is the next exit number is. You get the idea of the next state. So your system itself is getting trained in such a way You want to get pushed to the next level and next level and next level. Sometimes what happens is deliberately, I mean, a trainer can observe and say, okay, you are almost getting there, or we can force you to the next level so that you can experience the next level.
Okay.
So that's why
And that
if you are, if
is
you are,
doable regardless of whether you're giving me a sitting for the first time or whether you have always been my preceptor. They always have the visibility into my
right.
map, let's say.
Yeah, suppose if I am giving you sessions regularly, I'm kind of tracking your progress. So it's easier for me to work with you
Hmm.
if you're doing this in-person sessions one-on-one with a single prefect. Now with the
Right.
WhatsApp and all, the general cleansing happens and general push happens, and depending on your state of condition. So there is a difference between one-on-one attention versus having a session remotely without knowing who and who, right? So it's always my recommendation is to have sessions with the prefects whom you can meet regularly.
Okay.
And also, whenever your time permits, say, hey, you feel like having a session at, like, say, 10 in the night, right? You can turn on your WhatsApp and then the session happens. But for a specific work and specific progress, it's always good to schedule sessions, close to with a regular prefect.
Okay. Thank you. The next question was around. So you did mention that yes, you need to give yourself time to digest what you absorbed from your sitting. So then, is there a recommended gap between two sittings? And the reason I'm asking is because, right, for example, today Daji's sitting and his address to everybody is coming up at a certain time. Before that, they have also opened up this time frame where you can get one-on-one sittings. And in my head, I'm thinking, should I have at least 4 hours between these two sittings, one-on-one with a preceptor and followed by Daji's? So
It's all is there a role how many times you should take the water?
okay.
So, when do you take the water? It's when you need,
Right.
right? And how many times you should be needing it depends on you.
Okay. But there is no recommendation.
Unless I digest what I'm getting, it becomes an
Huh.
overload, and then it flows out
Right.
and it doesn't fill. If the cup is filled, there's nothing to fill anymore.
Yeah.
You yourself feel that saturation. I mean, no one has to tell you.
Okay. Thank you.
So one more question, Shrikant Bhai. What role does suffering have in this journey? In the sense, as the saying goes, right? Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. Sukh mein sumiran kare to dukh kahe ko hoy. So the first question is there a role that suffering has in play with regards to constant remembrance and connection with the divine? And then the second question is, transmission is the essence of love. What does that mean?
Okay. Jesus on the cross said, suffer them unto me. He said, that basically means, suffering somehow makes you look at this higher aspect of life. Right? Because otherwise, then you're always, I don't know if you missed it, it shows my internet connection is gone and came back. So what I was saying is Jesus said the suffer them unto me. Right? At some level, the suffering makes us look inwards. When we start looking inwards, then we realize there is this higher states we need to reach. So suffering in at some level does play a role, but it's not always the suffering is good, because suffering takes away the energy from us. But suffering initially does make us look towards it. But if I am continuously suffering and there is no progress happening on the spiritual side, then it becomes an overdose of suffering. That's not going to help you. Right? So transmission as love. See, love is a state, the most subtlest state, synonymous almost to the higher essence or the essence of all existence itself, the vibration of all existence itself. So this transmission, having that infinite qualities, having that essence, then it does qualify as being love, right? But love, normally in a regular understanding, we look at it as an interpersonal emotion we exchange. So when I'm talking about this at an individual level, then for me to love, I need another person. But at a state of essence, where is the other person? So then I become love at the state of essence. At the state of interpersonal relations, I show love as an emotion. But that's a very powerful emotion, right? Like the mother is always thinking good of its child, always taking care of it, nourishing it. If I can bring that same emotion with every relation, then it becomes love. But that is at a very mundane state. At the state of essence, you are love. That's why transmission is understood as love. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, there's a lot of disturbance, unfortunately, so couldn't listen to it clearly, but I got the gist of it.
Okay. Yeah, towards.
So Shrikant Bhaiya, I have a question.
Yeah.
Something special happens during Bandara. Can you tell us about that? That the meditations are different. Is there a different transmission or what's going on?
So for those who don't know what this Bandara means, Bandara is where a lot of people are coming together for meditation on certain occasions. So when we come together and meditating, it creates certain synergy. That's why the whole atmosphere changes. But I can bring that synergy at home also. If all of us sit together and meditate at home, we kind of feel the same thing. Once a friend walked into my house. We were just sitting there. Even the TV was running that time. He said, there is certain silence I feel at your home, which I never felt before. Why that silence is created? Because you are regularly meditating at your home. It creates certain, vibratory state throughout. But we can expand this. What is our universal prayer doing? We are expanding that state to entire universe. I am expanding myself. So that's why when in such large gatherings, when all of them come together and meditate, definitely there is a different vibrations state it creates in that atmosphere itself. Again, it said my internet connection is unstable. Did you hear my answer?
I think I hear some of it. I think I got the gist of it.
Sorry, I'm really sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much.
I can hear you all very well. There is no break. Okay.
So there are times the constant remembrance slips away and we feel unbalanced. I know I feel unbalanced because I feel it and I behave it. What are the things I can do besides the daily practices to hold on to that and not slip away?
See, very simple thing. The moment you know you're in unbalance, you know where to go back. But you're not applying your willpower to go back. You're letting it slip away, though you're recognizing you're slipping away. So it is important for us to, pull some willpower and say, okay, let that condition be created again in me, even in unbalanced state. Then it comes back.
Can you repeat that last sentence? It froze.
We are allowing ourselves to slip away. So I have to tell myself, okay, I'm slipping away, let me go back. You apply some will for it. That balance state is restored almost instantly. But, we suddenly become helpless and we let it slip away. Right? We let it slip away. We know we are slipping away. We know where to go back, but we don't allow ourselves to go back. So that's why.
Shrikant bhai, this topic,
Huh?
remembrance is somewhere, if you can, I'm sorry, I think you were wanting to continue. Go ahead. But I was just saying quickly, constant remembrance is one topic if you might want to do a whole session on, we could benefit. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, see, constant remembrance without the topic of transmission doesn't make sense. Remembering what? What am I remembering? With that state the transmission has created, I'm holding on to it. That is what remembrance is. That's it. I mean, there is no additional techniques around it. But I am applying my will to go back to that state again and again whenever is possible. Like Shilpa said, I'm slipping away, I know it. Apply your will to get back there. Pull yourself together. That's all constant remembrance is. It's a very simple thing. One must do it. One must allow it to happen. Because there is no technique there. I must allow it to myself to happen there, go back again and again. For that, I need to give my time, some time after meditation to observe that state, imbibe it, and then get there. Right?
Thank you.
My apologies, we are over half hour, but maybe I should make them 1.5 hour sessions instead of 1 hour session. But thank you all for staying, late. But I'm not running away. I'm open if you have any other thing else to discuss.
Yeah, I
Thank
think 1.5 hours is what we need.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate you giving us all this time.
Thank you. I mean, thanks for all of you to join, and I am learning as we speak.
Thanks, Shrikant bhai.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, you guys have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.